We all need help at some point or another, whether it be from our city workers plowing our snow off of our streets or our school teachers helping teach our children. There is at some point in time a point where we need assistance from someone else besides ourselves. The question is this: what are you doing to help others? Are you just expecting and not willing? Are you more accustomed to receiving and not giving? Listen up, people. There are so many ways to help out others. A little bit of guidance, a lending hand, or even a silent reference to someone else for someone else can really make a difference. We all carry the solutions to other people's problems. All that is needed is for us to get out there, figure out what those solutions are, and apply them in the form of helping hands. There's nothing more honorable than someone who goes out of their way to help others. Welcome back to another episode of The First Cup KC. Today on the show, I'd like to spotlight Bill Kimble. Bill is the true example of overcoming our community and not only making the difference, but being the difference. He has managed to transform himself from felon to fabulous by becoming one of Kansas City's biggest real estate developers within the urban core. He is also certified in almost every aspect of real estate and the construction fields. Please welcome Bill Kimble to the show.
All right. Well, thank you, Chuck. I sure appreciate the intro. It's a pleasure to be on your show today. My name is Bill Kimble, and I would just like to tell everybody a little bit about my life and a little bit about my story and how I became to be the man I am today. My father was an architect and general contractor. My grandfather was in real estate. So I was born to kind of do what I do. I've always felt that. As a little kid on the weekends, I didn't know it, but my father was training me and my grandfather was training me for entrepreneurism because my grandfather did real estate and he had rental properties. So each weekend I would cut like his yard and then 5 more yards. And then I would cut our yard at home in 5 more yards. But I didn't know it, but I was being groomed for entrepreneurism. So the beginning of my life started out very well, especially being African American. But unfortunately, it went from sugar to shack fairly quickly when substance abuse entered our immediate family. So that's what kind of took us down in a spiral. From that point on, juvenile delinquent, I went in the system at 14 years old. And I got out at 40. So even in the juvenile system, I was in and out. I was certified as an adult at 17. And by my 18th birthday, I was already in adult prison, just in and out of jail my entire life. But I'm born and raised in Kansas City, right from the streets of Kansas City. And I always had a passion and a desire to do more than what I was doing. I wanted more out of life, but I didn't know how to go about getting it. I didn't know how to harness that frustration that I felt, that frustration that I see so many in the urban core suffer from now. You say, how do I see it? I see it in the crime rate. Kansas City this past year, second all time, the amount of murders. Second, almost broke their own record. That's frustration. And I know what they feel because I used to feel that same frustration of not being able to elevate, not being able to succeed, not being able to live up to my potential, being a victim of my circumstance. And I don't like that word. I really strongly dislike the word victim because I don't look at myself as a victim. I look at myself as a survivor and a person who wanted to change and was determined to change and someone who did change. So when did the change come in my life? I was in prison. I can almost remember the exact day what was happening. I was reading a book and it was called Think and Grow Rich by Dennis Kimbrough. And at that time, I went to the chapel, and you have booths in prison, so you can listen to a VCR tape. It was VCR tapes. They didn't have all the digital stuff they have now. But I listened to a tape of the minister Louis Farrakhan. Never listened to him before, so I don't know what made me listen to him at that point. But he said a speech, and he looked right in that camera, and he said, "Look at you. Look what you're doing to your people. You selling those drugs to your people, you nothing. And I said, wow. It was a spiritual awakening in that little booth because the book that I was reading, Think and Grow Rich, was stimulating my business side. And now the minister Louis Farrakhan stimulated my moral side. From that day forward, I never had another dealing again. I changed my life that day. But now I still went to prison, and when I got out, I was still violated before, but I never did another crime. Getting in and out the system is hard to do on its own anyway. But after I got out of prison, I was determined to do better. I was determined. And before I went, like the last time, I owned properties. I had a running ad in the newspaper, in the black newspaper called The Call. I had a running ad, and my father and I, we would rent houses. We would buy houses, fix them up, and rent them out. And it was unfortunate, but this made me learn, because when I was released from jail, Jackson County came and got me from the feds. And when I was released, the person who owned so many houses, I was homeless. And I had the first place that I walked to. I didn't have a cell phone. I didn't have any money to call anybody. But what I did is I walked to the City Union Mission and I signed up. And that was a humbling experience for me, to be able to own houses all through the city and then to be homeless. It was a spiritual awakening. But at that point, I told myself I'm going to do better. I got back in school because I never finished high school, never finished my freshman year. My freshman year, first semester, I was kicked out of high school, never went back. But when I got out of prison, I went to school. I got an associate's degree in construction management. I went and got a bachelor's. Then I went and got a master's in real estate. I started up the construction company. And from that point on, I started in construction. I evolved into real estate. Then I evolved into development, where I'm at now. And I like what I do. I do what I do, I could do for free. And I guess that's why I started a nonprofit, because I'm not so focused on the money. Because nonprofits can make money. Negative conception if you think nonprofits don't make money. They make plenty of money. But I wanted to give back to my community. The community that I took away from, I wanted to give to. I used to be part of the problem. Now I want to be part of the solution. And I feel that the best way for me to do that was through construction, was through real estate, was through development. When I drive past the raggedy parts of town, or the desolate side of town, I can make that change. Not just by house, but if I have to do it, I will go house by house. I'll go block by block. I'll go neighborhood by neighborhood. But to be a developer, you get to inflict change. I can change a neighborhood, and I like that feeling. Just like when you're on the streets, you do certain things and you get certain feelings. Well, being a developer gives me that gratification that I seek. I like the fact that I could take the worst house on the block and make it the best house on the block. I enjoy that. I enjoy teaching people what I know. A man can feed himself. You can stop the cycle of jail if you know a real trade. A real trade to me is construction. In construction is a carpenter, plumber, electrician, HVAC. If you get your certifications, you could live a life and you don't have to go back and forth. So my goal at that point was to teach as many people as I could construction, then to teach as many people as I can real estate, and then to learn development and be a good example for others in the development field. What I currently do now, I do what you call public-private partnerships. Those are like agreements with the city, partnerships with the city, or it could be the state as well, for a good purpose. I do it for housing. So the city has an initiative to build X amount of affordable housing in the urban core. Then I would solicit a proposal to them, telling them how I would go about doing that. And the city would team up with me and partner with me. And I just love it. Not only is it lucrative, but you're actually making a difference. And that's something that I've always wanted to do. And it's something that I just feel good about doing now. So to sum it up, where am I going in the future? To me, the sky's is the limit. Kansas City can't hold me. Every day, I'm thinking about relocating my office at the downtown airport just so I can see planes flying in and flying out, just so my imagination can run. Because when I was in prison all those years, they couldn't take my spirit away. They couldn't take my imagination away. And every day I went somewhere else. I wasn't in those walls every day. My mind wasn't. I allowed my mind to wander. I allowed my mind to grow. And that's what I want to continue to do now. And I want to continue to try to help people see that side. I guess that might be my biggest frustration. If I had to have one, I think that would be my biggest frustration, not being able to cultivate relationships of like-minded people that want to do the same thing, as passionate, with the same drive. But I love construction. I love real estate. I love development. And I love being a part of the solution and not the problem. And to sum things up, and if anyone is looking to learn more about real estate, more about development, or even construction, give me a call. My website is neighborhoodsu.org. The name of my organization is Neighborhoods United. So it's neighborhoodsu.org. Or you can go to billkimble.com. Kimble is Kimble. So billkimble.com. And hit me up. Any question that you have. Now, I can't say that I'm going to get right back to it in the same 1 hour or 2 hour span. But I promise that I will work diligently to answer any questions. Thank you.
Once again, that was Bill Kimble with Neighborhoods United. Thank you guys for joining me for another episode of the First Cup KC. I hope you guys enjoy the rest of your day. And as always, stay positive, people. October 2021, I set off on a new adventure. A year into authoring the Morning Coffee Cup Chuck messages, I was approached by my nephew about hosting a podcast. It would be about positive people and all of their achievements. It sounded like a great idea, but I wasn't able to pull it all off on my own, and I didn't. In fact, my nephew facilitated the whole show. I needed only provide guests. Talking about assistants, right? Well, that podcast aired its first episode December 18th of 2021. And I hate to say this, but this episode right here will be the last one for a while. So please continue to revisit the old episodes and re-meet some of the amazing people that I've been honored to interview on this journey of mine. All I can say is, what a hell of a ride. It will close out with 3 seasons and a total of 54 episodes. So I would like to thank every one of the guests that shared their gifts, their stories, as well as all of their time. And most of all, I'd like to thank the NSPN crew for all of their hard work and dedication. I couldn't have done any of this without them. I am again setting off on a new adventure to continue what I started. My mission now is to help others by bringing my positive messages to the stage. I hope you guys had a wonderful time with this podcast and these interviews, and I hope you guys continue to live a positive life.